the Author, a show about inspiring stories and conversations by creatives and all forms of art, music, movies, visual art, authors, creative writing, poetry, dance, culinary art, among others. Brought to you by the multi-award-winning author, life coach, and poet, Richard Mwebesa.
Good day, wherever you're watching from. My name is Richard Mwebesa, the multi-award-winning author, life coach, and poet. Your host for us, the author. Welcome to season number 2. It's been quite a bit. Thank you for tuning in, our audience. We've been cooking for you, and in this season, we will be telling you stories that inspire. I love stories because they say stories sell, but facts tell. So today I have a guest who is a multi-award-winning journalist and a multi-award-winning author. So she is won multi-awards in the journalism space and also won a number of multi-awards as an author and writer. She is also a mental health expert. She's a coach. She's a counselor, a mother, an innovator, as well as an entrepreneur. With me is Angela Nsimbi, and we will be having a conversation about what she does in the writing space and the projects that she does. Welcome, Angela, to Ask the Author Show. Pleased to have you.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. Wow. So who is Angela Nsimbi?
So who am I? I call myself somebody who loves Jesus. Someone who loves people to be comfortable. I'm passionate about healing spaces. I'm also passionate about learning.
Wow.
I love children, although I will be honest, it became intense when I became a mom. Before that, I will not lie, I wasn't keen on children. And I love to develop, to invest. I love to impact and transform lives. So I'm also a founder of the Ketura Mental Health Awards. And we are going the 5th edition this year. God has blessed us. We have also expanded to South Africa. And we did our first chapter last year, the first edition in South Africa. The second will be this year. Also a founder of what I call heart-to-heart chat mental health program, which is under a registered organization called Nantamba Wellness Support. Yeah, so many things, but I want to summarize that. And I already said I'm a mom, a mother to 4 adults now. That scares me sometimes. 4 adults and a teenager. So I have 5 children.
So meaning if you're mom, that means your wife as well?
Definitely,
You're
yes. I'm married.
Married, yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
I know you wanted that part.
That is
the
important.
emphasis.
Yes, you have to. You're married.
Yes, I'm married.
Yes. Wow.
Yes.
So how did you develop interest into the mental health space? What was your driver? Okay.
My driver for the mental health space, that came in through a personal experience. And a lived experience, because what I recall at that time when it happened, it's several years back, that was late 2008, leading into early 2009, when I had a meltdown mentally. And when I did, I also didn't understand what was happening to me at the time. Rapid speech, that's what they call it scientifically. But that kind of thing where you are talking probably the whole day. Hardly any full stops. So yeah, when I got that meltdown, it made me question many things. And then I wondered, how can I impact? Because as a journalist, we believe in writing to transform lives. So I said, what can I do that can educate people, but also enable people to get help? So that is what pushed me in that space. And also for us to be able to talk about uncomfortable things. Yeah, because many times we like wearing masks to look good to the public, but when inside we are crumbling.
Wow.
But to show people that it is safe to talk about what you're going through and help is on the way.
Okay.
Mm.
Wow.
So that's
wow.
how it began.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. So how then did you incubate the concept or the idea, or to become probably a counselor or a coach on that subject matter?
Okay, now to incubate I incubated that whole idea. It starts obviously from inside. I always tell people who care to listen that I have struggled for so many years with people pleasing. I have struggled so much to try to fit in, trying to conform because it makes people comfortable. So because I have struggled in that space, I realized that it's about time first that I get my own healing. And then how do I transfer that to other people? It's the important thing. So obviously how it developed is, I remember I was in my prayer room when I got that instruction to write my first book.
Okay.
Because I had already shared it in the newspapers. But when you're sharing about your personal life in public space, obviously I had to first talk to my husband about it. But I had to share. Thankfully, he didn't refuse that time. I had to share so that families are restored, because I struggled. I was raised in a polygamous home. Too many dynamics, too much pain, too much strife, too much conflict. And I realized it is about time someone stands up and speaks up. And I knew it had to start with me. So that is how I begin. And obviously, I also entered into spaces to learn, also to be trained. And one of the first spaces I went into was Heart Sounds Uganda. It's actually the first organization in this country where people with the lived experience would meet. So going in that space, I was exposed to Rutabika, got trainings also on how to be a peer counselor. Then also I started to also look out for trainings in other spaces as an author when I eventually became an author, like with Akaba, because there's a particular training I got with Steve Pied, School of Healing. He's from Australia. So I also got training in that space so that we are able to use the Bible as a reference for healing.
Wow.
Yes. So for me, I angle all that, most of what I have learned through my experience, I angle it also with the Word of God.
Word of God.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. So you mentioned something which is quite interesting. So how is talking? Yeah. How is talking a mental health issue?
How it becomes a mental health issue.
Is it over talking, or there's a bit of the way that it is framed?
Now,
because me being a writer as well and a public speaker, I over talk. I believe so. So I don't know.
Okay, now how talking
Yes.
becomes a mental health issue is you begin to talk about things now personally, because I kept quiet about a lot of pain. So I began to talk about things I had kept, within me. It all piled, but that talking is rapid. And when they say rapid, it's actually rapid. You're speaking quite fast. And you're speaking, even though
Things
you are
are
a talker,
incoherent.
interestingly, they
were coherent, right?
But it's rapid, it's long, and it's exhausting. Because, Richard, you can't talk from 6 a.m. till evening. That is, you're wearing yourself out. Yeah, so when you also notice...
Were you talking to yourself or talking to other people?
I was talking to myself, but addressing the issues I was going through.
Okay.
Yeah, talking. But I was not hitting anybody, interestingly. I was not aggressive, but I was talking. Okay. But when I look back, because like I told you, there's some things you understand with retrospect.
Yes. With hindsight.
Yes, when I look back, I realized that it was pain that I had bottled inside. Pain I had not dealt with. Yes, and part of it, by the way, is also childhood trauma.
Wow.
Because some of these things in our childhood, because personally, I watched my parents not really get on for the most part of my life. So I thought that when you get married, you shut up. That's the best way, because my mom would, for her, she would talk. And so it wouldn't be nice the way they would deal. So I was thinking, maybe you keep quiet, that would be better. But my keeping quiet didn't make me better. It made me bitter. It made me resentful. And so because I noticed that pattern, and like I told you, because when you are before the Lord, he's honest with you. He will tell you what you have to deal with. I realized that that's how we get sick, when we don't deal with our struggles. So we need to learn to talk, but in a healthy way.
Environment. Okay, so you mentioned that you're journalist by profession. So what were you doing? What kind of journalism? Because journalism is a bit broad. There's writing, there's TV, there's media, there's social media now. So what, were you a specialist in any field, or a journalist?
Okay, as a journalist, mainly, especially with the encounter, my epiphany, I call it my epiphany, my turn around.
What does epiphany mean?
Epiphany basically what
you're using very hard words now.
No, what it means, okay, what it means, it's your turning point.
Okay.
Yeah, something like which happens, a major event that happens in your life, and it changes everything.
Okay.
So for me, that was my turning point. My turning point, okay, before I got the issues that I got with my mental health, although I still wrote about that, I really loved writing on fashion. I would write on shopping. I would write on women issues, human rights. And now when I had that turning point, my focus changed. I started to write on issues of disability. Because when you have had a mental health challenge, they tell you that you have a psychosocial disability. So meaning that the kind of disability you have is involved with also the limitations or the challenges, the hindrances you'll get in society because of your psycho situation, the psychosocial situation. And some people actually, it is hard for them to recover. Others, I'll thank God, God has been merciful, because even when I had the breakdowns, I would actually remember. I understood what I was dealing with. I might not have known the degree of what it was, but I could understand. So I started to write also about mental health when that changed. I started to also write about the need for us to support women, especially because when a mom has had a baby, a lot of emotions happen there. Some women will tell you the postnatal depression. Others will tell you, I don't even like the baby, and she also doesn't understand why she's feeling like that. But all that started to frame how I also present myself in journalism. So I started also to, I remember I actually wrote, the first time I wrote about my story was in a magazine called Flair for Her, a New Vision magazine. So I wrote, but I remember what I wrote wasn't so deep. Then I remember, the first time I wrote was 2013. The next time I wrote about my experience was 2015. And the same magazine. And I remember when my editor was telling me, who coincidentally was my sister then, okay, she passed on, but my sister. So when she gave me that assignment, she told me, write for the corporate woman. And she told me, as you write for this corporate woman, write about even how she deals with her diet, how she gets back into the community, but relating it to the mental health situation you went through. So as actually, when I wrote that article, it's like, it also changed my perspective on how I communicate. Because the people who responded, the response was big. Sometimes you can impact and you don't know. So one lady was saying, when she read my story, it changed everything that she needed to do. Wow. She left her low-paying job. She enrolled for school, and she said she just transformed her life. It transformed her life. Another one, basically, they were also commending my husband for supporting me, because he really stood by me in that season. So they were just feeling the weight of what it was. And when they shared their letters, I was also shocked that it could have that kind of impact.
Yeah.
So that's when I remember when I was in the prayer closet. Now, a year later, that's when God tells me, write the book.
Wow.
But the book eventually happened in 2021. And I thank God for COVID, because COVID made me wake up. I had to finish the book.
The time to
yes, the time was there. No pretense that I'm going for meetings or what. Yeah, so that's how it turned out.
So you mentioned journalism. You were a professional journalist?
Yes, I am.
With New Vision?
Yes,
at the time?
At the time, yeah.
Because Flair magazine was one of those big magazines.
Yes.
Lady magazine.
Yes.
Target centered for ladies.
Yes.
And it's quite impactful. Wow, what a story. So moving on, and right before we come to the part where you wrote your book, had you always been a person that was very inspired by writing? Is writing your thing?
Yeah.
Or it was just a job? Is it a passion?
No, it's a passion.
Okay.
So being in the job space, it is a passion, because the truth is, journalism in Uganda, if you are going to be there because of money, you'll quit as soon as you've started. Yeah, so journalism is like a calling. It's like ministry.
Okay.
Because you have to report injustices. You have to write about the injustices in the community, because you desire for people to be transformed. But also you desire for people to be educated. So it is not, journalism is, it appears fancy and you know, as though you're just there for the public to adore you and all that. But that's not what journalism is about. Journalism is about us educating. It's about us making sure there's justice in community. It's about us, yes, also entertainment, but it's also about improving people's mindsets, changing mindsets, improving livelihoods. That's the gist of journalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So for me, it's a passion. Writing has always been a passion. Even when I was little, I would read books. When I read a book and a quote was popped out of that book, I would even write that. To this day, I still write. Even when I attend my service at church, I write. I have a notebook. Even in my prayer time, I have a notebook.
So meaning you journal?
I journal a lot.
Journalism comes from the word journal. Yeah, so you journal.
I do journal.
Okay.
A lot.
Wow. Interesting.
A lot.
Yes.
It's my passion.
Wow. So coming now to the space where the Lord tells you, you said in your prayer closet, God tells you, I think that was also part of your healing process.
True, it was.
Yes, when He tells you, write the book. So how did that happen? You know, I'm a pastor, but when we tell people God told me, people wonder and imagine. Did God come
did
like...
He shout loud?
Did He come like you know, Angel Gabriel in a big deep voice? Oh, lo and behold, Angela. I don't want to sound dramatic. I mean, people imagine and wonder. So do you want to share with us that experience?
Okay, that experience, what I can say is actually it was a calm kind of situation, very calm, a gentle voice. When God spoke to me and told me, I want you to write your experience as a book. Very gently, no drama. And I remember I wrote the instruction down. It took me years to implement.
Wow. Wasn't that going to be hard for you because it was coming from a place of pain?
Yeah, writing the book, the truth is, you know, there are times, and I want to encourage people to write, by the way, because it heals you. So I'll be honest, there are things I wrote in my book, and I was very sure, you know, you're confident, I'm done, I'm good, I overcame that part. But I remember when I was writing, I started to cry. There are particular chapters I would just cry. And when I would cry, I didn't have the strength to write.
Wow.
So I would step back and probably get to the book a week later. But for me, it was the healing I needed. Yeah, because I had a lot of wounds. Some of these things, it's the storms in my marriage. Some of these storms are childhood pain. And I just realized that, wow, I thought I had overcome this, but I wasn't there yet. But I thank God that I wrote the book, Because when you write with your heart, you are able to write for people.
Yeah.
You are able to write without a mask. Because also people are tired. Because I remember, especially when we used to profile ladies, the high achievers in our community, the women never talked about their challenges. These women always had supportive husbands. They always had the perfect life.
Yeah.
And when you ask them, what's the challenge? It's like somehow they figure it out. There was hardly any challenge. So I felt that these women were not relatable because they seemed like they were superhuman. But now, here I was being vulnerable, telling people that pain, the struggle of not being seen, the struggle of being rejected by people you love. Because some of these challenges are they are relational, not necessarily my husband only, but even my mom, it is hard. And when I say hard, it's hard being a firstborn.
And so it's firstborn.
Yes, I'm my mom's firstborn.
Wow.
So it's hard being a firstborn, and a firstborn when mommy and daddy are not getting on. Because you begin to take on roles which have never been yours. You lose your childhood. So even right now, as I speak about it, I actually have had to take time and build boundaries to show people that I also deserve to be happy. I also deserve nice things. Because without you knowing, subconsciously, you let people treat you in a certain way because you are used that your needs will always wait. And without even people saying it, but they treat you in a way that your needs can wait forever.
What you tolerate is what you accept, and what you accept is what you adapt. What you adapt is what you become.
Thank you.
So, hey.
So that one was heavy for me because for my mom, I had to be like that person who stands by her, the pillar. It was like wrong for me to be vulnerable because my mom was vulnerable, and now she was out of the relationship with my dad. It was hard. I had to be the big girl to stand. And when you're in that situation, it's hard for you to cry in front of your mom. It's hard for you to be a child. So for me specifically, I struggled. Yeah, I lost my childhood.
Wow.
In summary, I don't want to sugarcoat. I did because I had to grow up before my time. Even today, there are things I see that I had to do, and some of it I can just give a simple example. I was 16, and of course my mom now, she's a single mom. So mommy had to make sure there's food at the table. She has to make sure the roof is on over our head. We are clothed and we're in school, right? So there are times she would have to go, maybe for safari, long journeys, where she has to work, and then she will come back. But in that time, I'm the one who is in charge. And I was age 16. I was a minor.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember one time, that particular time my mom had traveled, somebody was trying to break into our house. Yeah. It was a flat, an apartment, but now with a door though, it had a door at the front, but now of course because there's the balcony, the guy could jump over. So I remember hearing this guy struggle to open that door, and it was locked, he couldn't. So the bedroom I was in, I had shared with my brother. I remember I woke him up and I told him, have you heard that? Remember, I'm the big one. So in my mind, many things started to happen in my mind. I said, there's no way I can be comfortable to sleep. And yet my sisters, my young sisters, were in another room. Some young sisters and a brother. I just couldn't. And their room did have a key.
Wow.
Oh, I had to get up, get them. So I decided, let me get all my siblings. We'll be in mommy's room because my mom was away and her bed was big enough to accommodate us. We are 6 of us. So we slept in that room. And I'm glad I made the decision because the person actually jumped over and even tried to open the door where we were, of the room where we were. So I thank God I took the decision, but wow, I had to grow up. Yeah, I had to grow up.
So tracking and coming back now to where God is sending you, right? Is that instant part of the stories that you put in your
Yes.
book? So what's the title of the book?
Breaking Free. It's right here. Breaking Free. So this breaking free, what inspired it? When you have had mental health challenge, and that's why now I want to really speak to the people there. When you've had a mental health challenge, and I'm being sincere, it's like every area of your life is under a siege. So if you are married, your marriage is under siege.
Wow.
If you are a mother, your role as a mother is under siege. I'm being this honest because that's how bad it gets.
Wow.
If you are a career person, your career is under siege.
You're bound, actually.
Basically, you are bound. And I remember there's the first interview I did by somebody who I don't know if I will even ever meet, but I told them mental illness is like being in a grave.
Wow.
It's like you are in a grave, but you are moving, you are alive, but you are not there.
Wow.
And it is that heavy because it robs you of dignity.
Wow.
It is that painful. It robs you of dignity, the way people treat you. Not that they treated you much better, but it is like it has labeled you. It has labeled you that whatever you say can be used against you. Someone will even say, look, hey, it's now she's going off. And yet you actually have something burdening you and you want it addressed. But you are being treated like somebody who is constantly insane.
Wow.
So this is how painful it gets and how real it is. So when it comes to your career, it's very rare. That's why some people don't actually talk about it. I don't want to talk about other people, but I know people who are in professional spaces and they will tell you, yes, I have bipolar, but I'm never going to be public about it. Because even the law does not protect you. Because the moment you go open about it, so supposing you are a lawyer, who is going to allow you to represent them in court? So if you are a doctor, who is going to allow you to continue practicing? So some people choose the silence, never to go public to talk about it, because it labels you. And all that God called you. It is like you are changed.
It robs you of your essence as a person.
Your identity, everything. And I keep going back to that book in the Bible, Mark 5. You know, Mark 5 simply says it. This is a man who was possessed with the legion. He used to be in the tombs. So you'll understand where I'm coming from when I say it's like being there. So he used to be like that, and he would cut himself. Even those who tried to bind him, he would break those chains. So what am I saying? When Jesus actually healed him, because when you get healed, when you get restored, wow, you'll be shocked at how many people will not want that to happen.
Repeat that. I missed that.
Yes, you will be shocked at how many people don't want it to happen. Why?
Why wouldn't people want you to be delivered?
I want to give you an example. That's why I'm going back to Mark 5.
This is news to me.
No, why am I telling you Mark 5? When he was delivered, when people found him at the feet of Jesus, what did they say? They were afraid. And they said, look at that man who was insane, who was of unsound mind. Now he's of sound mind. He's even clean in clean clothes. What did they say to Jesus? They chased him out of that area. And this guy now was also fearing to stay, you know. And when he was fearing, Jesus told him, go to the Decapolis and tell your family what I have done.
And show yourself to the synagogue and the elders and the priests, so that they get account of the healing and deliverance record.
So when I tell you that some people will not like it, you can already see that reaction.
For the parts of the Bible, I thought maybe the perspective was different, contextually, that because when Jesus cast out the demons and said, they asked him, the legion asked him, can we go to the pigs?
Yeah, they
and
went.
then the swine ran and drowned.
Yes.
So I thought maybe you're saying maybe the owners of the pigs or the
No.
the
The
swine.
people in the community,
Yes, the
because
community.
the thing is also, now that's aside, maybe I didn't want to go, but also mental illness is, when I say it's a bondage, it's real.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Sometimes you'll find that you're getting unwell in certain seasons, and you have to learn that pattern.
So there are patterns that are unfolding themselves.
Yes, you have to learn that pattern. What happens even as a family? What gatherings are there in that season as a family? Yeah, because there are things which happen to us not because you are just ill, but it's also because of dedications made over your life.
Altars that are pursuing you.
Exactly.
Because they are claiming, the right word is they're laying claim.
Exactly.
On your life.
And for me, the example I will give, this one I'll give it, I will not, I know God has done the work in me. Among Batoro and Banyoro, they give us pet names.
They are called Empako.
Empako, but that in Rujungu they call them.
Yes, pet names, of course. Yes.
Pet names.
Yes.
So now, when they give us Empako, I noticed in my family, I'm the only one who has that. Okay, it's no longer mine, but I was the only one who had that one. And I will say it because for the benefit of those who might have it. That Mpako is called Adieri. Adieri means I have sacrificed it.
What?
Yes, I've done my research, my dear. It means I have sacrificed it. Yes.
Sacrificed who? You carrying it?
Yeah, you carrying the name.
That you're a sacrifice?
Yes, you're a sacrifice. And
wait a minute. Are you for real?
You can even Google it right now. I did my research. I'm not just talking. Although that part I didn't put in my book, but I did my research. And Adieri means Emandwa Keikara. Anyone who knows Rutoro, Emandwa, that is forces of sorcery, of divination. Emandwa Kaikara. So it's like Kaikara means the one on whom they sit.
The seat, the resident.
The seat of the divination spirit.
Are you serious?
I'm surprised that you didn't know that part.
No, I did. How would I know? Because I know in Bunyoro, Batoro use put them.
Yeah, I can tell you in Atenyi, for example.
So I know.
So Atenyi means Enjoka, Eyanka, Yaruizi.
What?
Yes, and I remember I had named one of my kids that Mpako. I took it away from her.
Translate in English. A snake.
The snake of a certain.
Resident on
it's
the
a water spirit, but it's a serpentine.
Are you for real?
Yes. I'm actually surprised that you don't know that part. So anyway, now for me, God took me through a season of healing.
What?
Wait
a minute. Wait a minute. Let me first process this.
Okay, first process. Seriously, you will ask even people who are older. They will tell you what the Atenyi means. It's a serpentine spirit.
So all those is it that all pet names?
No, not all. Not all, but there are particular ones. And that's why I told you, for me, my dad has had very many children. Okay,
so your dad
but I'm the only one. Yes, I'm the only one he gave that Mpako. Hey. Who allows to that identity?
Would you say that these are things, because I'm also shocked, would you say that parents do this knowingly or they do it unknowingly because of cultural
I think
orientation?
What I can say, I don't want also to say that I'm blaming parents, right? Because there are some parents who actually don't know. You can be raised and for us, we do that.
The cultural orientation aspects.
Yes. This is what we do. And then also other people will say, for us, this is what we do. I'll give another example. We go to graves, dig around, and go and have a meal. Right? Yes. Yeah, because this is something, a culture I found.
Cultural rituals.
Yes, I know some people who do these culture things, the culture things, without even mentioning tribes so that people don't get offended and feel that we are being tribalistic. But I'm telling you the truth, people do
You think,
these
yeah,
things.
yeah. As I said, from a cultural construct,
But from
it becomes
yes, from
very
culture.
difficult. Becomes difficult to say that you disjoint, yeah, because you see, aspects of culture are so deep in the
True.
sense that they construct our identities
True.
and our orientation as humans.
Yes.
The way we behave, the way we relate,
Yes.
the way we do certain things. So it becomes a bit complex when you talk about such issues. I mean, I'm surprised. I didn't know, honestly.
I'm actually
I didn't know.
surprised
I
that
didn't
you
know.
didn't know
No,
that
I didn't
part.
know.
Anyway, the good thing they will edit that, but I'm shocked that you did not know. Let
No, I
me
didn't
tell
know.
you, Impako Adieri means Emandwa Kaikara. And it also means I have sacrificed it. I did my research.
Wow.
I did my research, and I do not care when I meet an older person and they insist in Mpako. Yeah, I tell them think yako Mpako. I do not use Mpako. I tell them greet me by my name, Angela.
Hey, you changed it.